My name is August Herbert, and this is my presentation on animal-assisted social connection. Now, imagine walking into a park alone, sitting quietly, feeling disconnected, or avoiding conversation, feeling disconnected. Now, imagine walking to the same park with a dog. Strangers smile, conversations begin, social barriers decrease. According to the 2022 stimulus package, specifically the Surgeon General's report, social isolation has become an increased problem affecting both mental and physical health. Physically, it affects increased cardiovascular disease and risks of immune system deficiency. Traditionally, solutions to isolation are unnatural and uncomfortable. But what if there was a more natural solution? This leads to my question: how do animals act as conduits for wider human social connection? According to Almeida and colleagues' 2021 findings, human social connections directly impact well-being. If people are consistently interacting with others, then their well-being is greatly impacted. According to Mental Health America's 2022 findings, meaningful interaction limits isolation. People are more likely to feel a meaningful interaction if they have an animal. According to Purewell and colleagues' 2023 findings, dogs are becoming increasingly used in critical situations or critical environments. These critical environments include hospitals and schools where people are under the most anxiety. When dogs are used, the levels of anxiety in these critical situations are limited. According to Wood and colleagues' 2022 findings, animals in social environments act as the medians that people may need to create the additional interaction. According to the 2021 coffee shop article from the stimulus packet, community spaces like third places act as foundations for people to create stronger connections with their communities. People can look at animals as mobile versions of these third places to further bolster community interaction. According to Wood and colleagues' 2023 research, dog ownership increases people's relationships with neighbors and others in their community. They found that people are almost 5 to 6 times more likely to create a conversation with a neighbor if they are walking their dog. According to Purewell and colleagues' 2023 findings, animals, especially people's personal pets, directly reduce anxiety levels. And according to, once again, to the 2021 coffee shop stimulus, repeated interaction strengthens relationships. If people can consistently make interactions with people inside their community as a result of their animal, then their well-being is positively affected. When synthesizing these sources, it's important to realize that animals act as conduits for people to create these meaningful isolations. But some researchers argue that people may become too dependent on their animals, which as a result leads to them having increased anxiety levels and not wanting to go outside. But it's also important to realize that these animals do not substitute interaction, but instead act as the median for people to create these strong connections. So, if animals improve connection, how can this be applied to real communities? My first solution is, once again, going back to the critical situations, them being used in hospitals and schools to help people in anxiety. But then, according to Purewell and colleagues' 2023 findings, they're increasingly being used in elder care interactions programs. So elders experiencing fear towards the end of their lives, this helps calm them and become more peaceful towards the end of their life. My second solution is designing social environments. These include dog parks, community events, and walkable neighborhoods. There are already some dog parks locally, like the Wareham and New Bedford Dog Park, but more community events could lead to greater connections across communities. My third and strongest solution is everyday interaction. According to Wood and colleagues, if people can get into a routine with their dog of consistently going out in public spaces, then their social confidence increases and their anxiety levels decrease. But it is also important to realize the limitations. Not everybody owns an animal. Economic stress leads to people not being able to afford an animal, and people living, renting or living in apartment buildings. They simply can't have the dogs, and also different cultures, it may not be normal to own an animal. The information for communities are therapy dog programs, school, community dog walking groups, animal-assisted social programs, and public space designed for interaction. These solutions can be scaled based on the size of the community. According to the U.S. Surgeon General stimulus packet, decreased social isolation leads and directly impacts a person's well-being. As we saw throughout this presentation, dogs directly impact the amount of social interaction that people are experiencing, so it directly impacts a person's well-being. Overall, animals do not limit social interaction, but they instead increase it. If people have an animal, they're more likely to feel more comfortable to interact with people across their community. And connection begins with interaction. Sometimes that interaction begins with the animal. Thank you, and here are my works cited.
6:04. All right, let's go to your questions. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
All right. Thank you for your question. So when I first started, I was more lenient on like looking at how more like people who only had like two different sides who both had animals. But then I realized that through my research, people are more likely to approach a stranger if they have an animal. Not like, I don't mean like they have an animal themselves, but the other person has an animal. They're more likely to approach another person.
Okay, good, thank you. And let's go to your second question. What are the implications of your findings to your community?
Like I said, with the dog parks, I mean, if people are much more comfortable approaching others, and if you're more comfortable approaching strangers, then you have a greater chance of making a strong relationship with somebody inside of your community.
Okay. All right, thank you.